What's going on, everybody in YouTube world, YouTube land? I'm Jay Jones. I want to talk about Section 8 housing. Okay, I want to talk about the process of how to get your house to Section 8. I want to talk about my experience with Section 8 because I'm on to my second Section 8 housing unit, working on my third one right now. And I really want to deep dive into it. So this is going to be more of like kind of a detailed video of Section 8. So hopefully if you're out there thinking about it and you're just kind of wondering, well, like, how does this actually work? Or how do I get my house Section 8 approved and all that stuff? I hope to answer that question. So make sure you guys like the video, right? And comment below. I need engagement. If this is your first time on this channel, you have to subscribe. All right. So do that for me. So Section 8 comes with a perception of low quality tenant. They tear your house up, issues and all that stuff. Right. So let's kind of dispel a few of these things. Okay. Is it a lower quality tenant? It may be a lower quality tenant as far as money because they're coming with a voucher, but it may be a better choice for a business decision for the landlord, right? And let's talk about it. So Section 8, you're going to have a tenant that's going to come with a housing voucher. Okay. The way that this works very, very quickly, let's just say you want $1,300 a month. You may run into this issue, right? Happened to me, but I'm going to show you how I got past it. Let's say you want $1,300 a month in rent. They're going to tell you I have one or two tenants, and they run that tenant based off of how much money they make and how much money they can afford for a house. So if you have them pay with utilities, so you say, hey, they pay for utilities, they'll pay a little bit lower. But if you say, hey, as a landlord, I'll pay the utilities, they can afford more house, right? I always make them pay with utilities, right? I don't want to do anything to that house. So it happened with my first house where I wanted I wanted $1,420 or something for the house, or $1,425. And they said, well, this tenant can only afford $1,380, right? Just an odd number. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. We signed it. And a year later, I increased the rent to $1,425. They said, no problem. We'll accept it. Sign this contract. And then I got paid on the first. So that's how I overcame it. So I might have missed out on what was that, like maybe $40 or something like that. But then I got that right back the very next year. Okay. So you don't always get what you ask for in Section 8, but you're going to get close to market rent, right? And it all depends on your areas, because the two areas that I have my Section 8 units in, they are pricier areas, okay? The rents over there are like the one house that I said is going for like $1,450. So, you know, that's already a lot. But that's how you overcome it. If you get close to market rent based off of that tenant, you can always increase it the next year. And they were so happy to just, hey, keep them in the house, sign it, here you go. All right. Here's the process with Section 8, right? So how to get a house Section 8 approved, it's not really getting it Section 8 approved, if you follow what I'm saying. Really what it is there's another inspection that you get from Section 8. And it just has to pass the Section 8 inspection. So let's just say you wanna accept Section 8 people, okay? They're just the same as any other tenant, okay? So just remember that. You're gonna screen them just like any other tenant, okay? You're gonna get their background check. You're gonna do all your due diligence just like any other tenant. I would advise you to do that, okay? You can go to rentspree.com and they will pay, it's like a $25 fee or $30 fee to run an application. So you would do an application like normal. They're just going to tell you, do you accept Section 8, or they're going to say, I have a voucher. Okay, cool. Then you're going to let them come in. You're going to let them see the house. You run that application, and this is what happens. So let's say you want to move forward with that tenant after you've vetted them. Then Section 8 is going to have you basically say, this is how much this tenant can afford. Is that good with you? They say yes. You're going to sign off on paperwork. They're going to have an inspector come out. That inspector is just going to look for stuff like safety stuff, right? So like it's almost like FHA, right? How FHA has their own appraisal. So they're going to come out, look at stuff like smoke detectors. And one time they had me like patch a hole outside that looked like, you know, an animal was trying to get to it. So I had to go and get topsoil and like cover that. And what else did I have to do? I had to go and grab a CO2 smoke detector and put it in there because it was the wrong detector in the hallway. And the third thing was to get door stoppers. Like, you know, usually if you got a pretty nice house, they're going to be small stuff. And then once you pass that, it's Section 8 approved, right? And then you can move forward with that tenant. And then the same thing, you collect a security deposit. I encourage you to collect a security deposit from that tenant. And then you sign a lease. And I take that lease and I take it back to their caseworker that they're working with. And that's it. So that's a gist of the Section 8 rental. It is a little bit more work than accepting a regular cash tenant, right? A regular cash tenant is they come in the unit. They like it. They fill out an application. If you like them, then you just pretty much sign a lease, get the security deposit, and they move in. So this Section 8 process might take an additional probably like 2 weeks for them to move in because they got to go through the inspection, and then you got to work with the tenant, and then you got to get the security deposit. But let me tell you this. Every month on the 1st, I get an email from Section 8 when they're ready to send out payment. And they tell me how much is going to go in my bank account. And it hits every 1st of the month. And like I said, in my first house, now I'm getting market rent. The second house, I'm getting really good rent. I got a 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for $1,160. $1,160 a month for a 2-bedroom home, right? Now, Section 8 covers, usually, I'm going to tell you the trick to this, they usually will pay 70% of the rent, and the tenant has to be responsible for the other 30%. So the way that it works is you're not going to get an entire lump sum of the rent. You're going to get 70% of the rent from the housing authority. And then you have to go and work with the tenant for the other 30. So that's whether that's PayPal, they go to the bank, or whatever electronic way to accept payment, you have to then work with the tenant. And on my leases, I have every day after the 3rd is a $15 fee. That's it. So that is our agreement. So you can have an agreement between you and the tenant. And that's what my agreement is. Now, after we do that, I collect the money from them. I already got the money from Section 8 on the 1st. That now, now they're paid in full. Okay. If they are running late on their portion, you can charge them late fees on their portion, but you can't charge late fees on the housing authority's portion. Okay. So that's how I'm running my business with Section 8. Okay. I'm okay with the extra, inspection and them coming in and doing it because from a business standpoint, I have a mortgage on one property and what I'm making covers the mortgage. I'm cash flowing. I'd rather get as close to guaranteed as possible with that mortgage on there. The second house, it's a seller finance deal. I just pay the seller, but still at the end of the day, it's still another payment. And I'd rather be able to get that payment that's coming from Section 8, which they're going to give me like $800 a month. And I just have to pay the seller $500. So even that little piece alone from Section 8 is going to pay for that $500. And then I collect the other half or the other portion from the tenant. So I'm covering both payments just with Section 8's portion. Okay? Let me tell you a trick to how you can get full payment from Section 8. All right? And we're going to wrap this video up. So my one tenant ended up losing his job. Okay? So immediately I said, well, you have to go and work with your case worker, your case manager who got you into the Section 8 housing. So as a landlord, you should have that contact as well. If you have any issues, you work directly with them, right? He lost his job, so he doesn't have any money. Section 8 sent me a notification once he signed off on some paperwork with them that they were going to send 100% of the rent. So now on that one house, I'm making $1,425 every single month until he gets himself a job. So I'm making my money every month from Section 8 now. So that's the only trick that you can do to get 100% of the rent is if they lose their job or something happens where they're not making that same amount of money, they have to go back to their caseworker. They'll fill out some type of paperwork and they'll readjust the numbers and let you know as the landlord. So all I do with Section 8 really is just every year sign that contract if I'm going to increase the rent. So here is my conclusion about Section 8. From a business perspective and a business decision, I think it is probably one of the best decisions to make because it's as close to guaranteed as you can get when it comes to rent. The tenants that I have, they're okay. Okay. I had to call one of the tenants and say, you know, hey, man, I need you to pay your portion. It's been after the 3-day period. Absolutely. I still have to chase them down for them to pay. They normally pay before the end of the month. You do have to understand that these people are on Section 8, so it's a little bit harder for them. They don't have, high earning jobs and things like that. But I'm just a very stern person when it comes to that, just because I don't want nobody to push over me as a landlord. But you are dealing with a different type of tenant. All right. But from a business standpoint, awesome, right? The check comes in every month. I'm paying off the mortgages and bills, because if a cash tenant comes in, to evict a cash tenant is going to take some time. And if that cash tenant doesn't pay you anything for that month, then you've lost money that entire month. You've lost money. So for me, I'm like, I'd rather get a little bit of something that covers my mortgages, and then I can get my money from you, when I can, because I'm going to get my money. But I'm like, I'd rather get something than nothing. And a cash tenant can just say, you know what, man, I'm not paying no more. And when COVID happened, I spoke to a lot of landlords, and I spoke to 2 to 3 Section 8 landlords. One of them was an electrician that was helping me on my fix and flip. And he was like, I have no issues with collecting my money. My tenants are doing their thing. And the ones that were talking about cash, they were all on the forums. They were all trying to figure out a way to get some type of assistance. And I said, so if something like this happens again, I would rather work with the government because they got the money. So that's why I decided to go Section 8. And it knock on wood, it's been going well. So if you're thinking about Section 8, I would look at it. I would even add it into your portfolio of cash tenants and Section 8 tenants. But it does feel really good to not have to chase down rent every single month, right? I'd rather chase down like $200 and be like, hey, man, just pay me the $200 or whatever. That way we can call it square. But I've already received 80 to 90% of the rent from Section 8. All right. So Section 8 housing, Section 8 voucher is a good program. And plus you're helping somebody get a home. Someone's way more grateful. They can't just go around losing these vouchers because this is their last opportunity. All right. So that's my video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it was informational. I hope it helps you understand the Section 8 process. It's just the same as any other tenant. You will have to fill out a little more paperwork with that case worker or that case manager, and you'll have to do an inspection. The inspection is nothing to be scared about. It's, you may fail it the first time, and it may be some simple things. The 2 times that I failed, they were very small. Like I went to Home Depot, spent less than $100, man, and got it fixed. Sent them pictures and passed the inspection. All right. So remember, this is chess, not checkers, and I see y'all at work.